I'm author Sarah A. Chrisman.
I'm Gabriel Chrisman.
And today we're discussing the book Country Cousin by Helen Fern. Now, I've had this book since I was a little kid. First time I read it was in 6th grade, and this was actually a book that I read. We had to do a class project, and we got to choose the book, but we had to dress up like the main character. So in 6th grade, I actually hand-sewed a dress and dressed up like the main character of this book. So I have some very fond memories of this book. And it takes place in very early America, Colonial America, late 17th century. So I thought it would be a really fun one to revisit for America's 250th anniversary that's coming up. And I thought this would be a fun time to reread it. Now, this one takes place in the late 17th century, but it was published in 1951. Now, a lot of...
I don't think of that as the heyday of accurate historical fiction, of course.
Right. Mm-hmm. But this one is pretty good. Mm-hmm. There are a few anachronisms. The biggest anachronism is so 1951. It's so 1951 because the main character is staying with her cousin's family, and the cousin is complaining that to go to this party that she's been invited to, she has nothing new to wear because her oldest dress is almost a month old. Or no, sorry, her newest dress is almost a month old, and people have seen her in it already.
Yeah, somehow I can't imagine.
Now, in the 17th century, to say that a dress that's less than a month old is old already, that's just pretty ridiculous. I mean, that's really ridiculous. But for 1951, people have seen me in this dress and I'm going to a party. Right. I guess for 1951,
it might get across the feeling they're trying to give you.
Yeah. It might get across the feeling, but for the late 17th century, it is ridiculous.
Yes.
So that scene definitely stood out when I reread it. And then there are a couple little things. A lot of historical fiction writers do this, where they will describe doing something in a way that you will be told people did it in this year. If you go to a museum and ask, how did people do XYZ in this year? And they will tell you what was the most up-to-date method at that time. What writers like this one fail to grasp is that people were also still using older and in many cases simpler methods of doing things. So I bring this up because there's a scene where, a series of scenes where the main character is wanting to teach her working class friend how to write because the friend doesn't know how to write English, and she never gets around to giving her these lessons because it's so much trouble to mix the ink and cut the quills and bring all the quills next door and beg the paper because paper is expensive. Now, okay, if you're teaching someone to write, you're not necessarily, in the very first time you're teaching them to write, you can teach them to write
without producing calligraphic quality documents.
You can teach them to write with your finger and a bunch of sand. You can teach them to write with your finger and the dirt ground, which they have.
Which actually, that's what yards mostly were at the time in America.
Right. Or a stick. Or any number of things. Any number of ways you can teach someone to write that does not involve
chalk and slate.
Yeah, chalk and slate. That
Wax.
Wax is a very old one. That goes back to
Rome.
Yeah. And so that's another... It's not what people usually think of when they think of anachronisms. When people think of anachronisms, they usually think of like a spaceship landing in King Arthur's court. But having the assumption that because something was done in a certain way, that was the only way it was done, that is a form of anachronism too. So there are a few of those. So that I've kicked off the the faults in this book right away. Now let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to why I like it.
You do enjoy this book.
For the most part, I do enjoy this book because it's actually, for a book I read that long ago, I remembered a lot of it. I mean, when I was rereading it just this past week, I remembered pretty much the whole thing, which is unusual for me because I'm 46 years old and I read this in 6th grade. That's a long time. But I remembered so many of the scenes in here just with vivid clarity. And because they're well written. And the very first scene, the main character is picking blackberries and she falls into this sort of slough and gets her dress soaked, which, let's face it, that is something I had personal experience with the first time I read this and thereafter. And so it was very, very personal. It was very evocative for me, this scene about her falling into the creek after she's been picking blackberries. And there's this other scene that I remembered really well because it's such a wonderful playing with language. So they're having a lesson in Latin. And first of all, this appealed to me because I wished we were studying foreign languages at that point when I was in 6th grade and reading this. But they're having a lesson in Latin, and their teacher is calling out words and having them give the translation. That's the way they're doing it. And the Latin word for goose is answer, A-N-S-E-R. And so the teacher is talking to the boy who the main character is sitting behind, and later on there's going to be a romance with them, but the start of them getting to know each other is the very stern schoolmaster calls on the boy, Richard Page, answer, Richard Page. And Richard Page assumes that he's saying, respond. And so he says, well, you have to give me a word. And the teacher just says, answer, Richard Page. And the girl sitting behind him hisses like a goose, really quiet, just so that only the boy can hear her. And so he gets the answer because he hears her little goose hiss, and he's like, oh yeah, answer is goose.
To me, that reminded me of a scene that might have happened in Anne of Green Gables, when you told me about it.
Yeah, except whereas Anne thwacks Gilbert in the head, in this one she's helping him, so it's a much more congenial, cute meet.
Right.
But I always loved that scene. I always thought it was a really sweet scene. And it's a fun play on different languages at the same time. And then one of the other scenes that really stuck in my mind is at the end when they have decided they're going to be sweethearts. He carves a little he gives her a silver thimble and he carves a holder for it shaped like an acorn with their initials in it. And so when I dressed up as this character in 6th grade, I didn't have the acorn, but I did have a thimble. And so I was wearing this thimble on my finger as I was telling everyone about the book. And so it's a really cute book. And again, as we're getting up to America's 250th, it's a good time to read stories about early America and just put us a little more in touch with our history. So if you can find a copy of this one, it might be a little tricky because it's not the most common book, but if you can find it, it's a good one, and I would recommend it. And yes, there are a few anachronisms in this one, but not as many as a lot of other books. And the characters are really well drawn, and the scenes are very memorable. So check it out if you can find it. And we hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a nice thumbs up. And remember to tell your friends about my books. Happy reading!